In today's video, I'm going to tell you about one of the major differences between French Canada and English Canada. And then I'm going to take you on a walk down one of the most important streets in Montreal. It's going to be fun. Let's go. You guys like my new shoes? I just bought them. If you tell me you don't like them, your comment will be deleted and you will be reported to YouTube for hate speech. You can make fun of my face, you can make fun of my video, but don't you ever make fun of my new shoes. This is a nice street here, isn't it? They don't make them like that anymore. But this random side street is not the focus of today's video. The focus of today's video is right over here. This is the street I'm here to tell you about. This is Boulevard Rene Levesque. I would bet that most French Canadians, almost all of them in fact, know the name Rene Levesque. Whereas on the other hand, most English Canadians don't. I didn't know the name Rene Levesque before I moved to Montreal. And yet, it could be argued that Levesque was one of the most important politicians in the history of Quebec. And once I explain a bit who Rene Levesque is, it's going to hint at one of the major differences between French Canadians and English Canadians. But first, let's take a little walk, okay? Wow, look at this. This is kind of weird to see a big gated up mansion in downtown Montreal. I'm gonna check Google Maps and figure out what this is. Google doesn't know. It shows nothing. All right, I'm gonna cross again to avoid some of that construction across the street. And then I'll tell you a bit more about Rene Levesque. Whoa! Look at this. Almost got a layer of fresh concrete on my new shoes. You're never safe in downtown Montreal, I'm telling you. Anyway, enough about the shoes. We're talking about Rene Levesque. So, Mr. Levesque was one of the premiers of Quebec back in the early 1970s. But even before that, he was a prominent voice in the Quebec separatist movement. In fact, he's kind of remembered as being the godfather of separatism, or maybe the grandfather. I don't know, godfather, grandfather. He's one of the fathers, and because of that, he remains a controversial figure in Canadian politics, just as the issue of an independent Quebec remains controversial in many ways. So you can imagine how, for Quebecois who are proud of their identity and some of them want to have an independent state, someone like Rene Levesque would be seen as a pioneer and a hero. For other parts of Canada, he's seen as an inconvenient voice, a troublemaker, someone who, you kind of need to tolerate because this is a free country and you have your opinions, but not really someone you want to bring too much attention to. Which is why, I went through all my years of Canadian education and I don't know the name Rene Levesque. If I was ever taught it, I quickly forgot it. And I wasn't the best student in high school, so maybe that is true. But the point is, I sure know who Pierre Elliott Trudeau is, Justin Trudeau's father. And him and Levesque had a lot of spirited debates back in the day. In fact, Rene Levesque, I was doing a bit of research for this video. I found this fascinating video called, look at this, Rene Levesque with students at a college in Toronto. And this is in March 1968, so over 50 years ago. I'll leave a link to this video. It's fascinating. And what's most fascinating about it to me is the fact that, he's debating for the separatist movement. And the debates they're having, the issues they're talking about, they're in some ways the exact conversation that Quebecois are having today.
Could you perhaps clarify this position? How can Quebec survive economically separate from the rest of Canada?
I just wish you'd stop thinking that we're so different and we're a minority. Right. Let's join together.
But what
Why
I
can't you
mean
think
is
that
that
way?
if you look at the world outside, you find out that
you do not have basic issues. You do not have, your issues are not convincing.
May I just ask you where your accent comes from, just for curiosity's
My
sake?
accent comes from Palestine.
Palestine. Right. No, which is one of the most respectable sovereign states of the recent world.
It's like 50 plus years have passed and still these issues are very much on the consciousness of Quebec. And listen, I'm not going to come out and say if I support Levesque or if I don't or something like that, but I just think it's worth mentioning who he was and what role he played for Canadians. Just like if you went to Cuba, it's important to know who Fidel Castro is. To some people, he's a hero. To some people, he is, the opposite of what they want in their country. It doesn't matter where you personally stand. It's important to understand and acknowledge. And so I feel like as English Canadians, we could do a bit better at trying to understand the figures of the Quebec past and actually teaching it. Because, like I said, whether you agree with it or not, this is your country, this is your history, this is, in many ways, your present. Because as I already explained, these issues remain till today. And speaking about remain until today, look at this. I guess the houses are gone. It's only the facades of the houses with these condos on top. Uh-oh. They heard an English Canadian talking about separatism. They're coming to arrest me. What do you guys think of a site like that? Those old buildings under the giant new glass building. I guess it's nice that they're preserving them, but it's kind of sad to me, It's kind of sad.
I do video production also.
Oh, cool, man.
So if ever you need drone shots to add to, you're doing a vlogger, I guess?
Yeah, I run a YouTube channel.
Yeah, so if ever you need drone shots to add to where you're shooting, my name's Mike Drones, can't go wrong.
Mike Drones,
I saw you before, but I was in a hurry.
Hi,
so
man.
hit me up, I'm in the area. Nice
Thanks,
to meet you.
Mike. Yeah, see you. Listen, I'm not telling you guys that I'm against development. I don't want to sound like one of those people who's like, oh, everything has to stay the way it is. No, I understand. In fact, I admire when a city changes and evolves in a good way. It's just, you don't want to lose too many of those old buildings, To me, those are the soul of Montreal. They are something you don't find in most parts of Canada. As someone who grew up in Winnipeg, I'd never seen houses like that before. I didn't know Canada had buildings that looked like that. I thought you had to go to Europe to see those. But no, they're here in Montreal. And hopefully we hold on to them. A bit of a classy part of downtown, actually. The vibe has changed since back where I started. Yeah, classy little area. I gotta dress up next time I'm down here. What a cool dog. Anyway, our walk continues, and pretty soon we're gonna get to an older building that I don't think is going anywhere anytime soon. No, not the beer market. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this one. Can you see it? I think it's called the Sun Life Building, right past Dorchester Square. Maybe a block from here is also the famous Queen Elizabeth Hotel, where John Lennon, back in the 60s, John Lennon and his wife, Yoko Ono, did their famous sleep-in. I think it was called Sleep for Peace. Basically, if you don't know, they stayed in a bed for a long time. They did whatever couples do when they're stuck in bed. And they were trying to save the world, bring peace. Yeah, so that happened. There's the beautiful Sun Life building I was talking about. Hopefully they do not do anything with it, at least not in my lifetime, because that is gorgeous. And behind those trees somewhere is the Queen Elizabeth. And as always, there's construction. I gotta find my way around this. Where do I go? Where do I go? This is Rene Levesque at Peel Street. Very beautiful part of the city. I would say if you're a tourist, you owe it to yourself to visit this area. And maybe if you're lucky, the construction will be done. I doubt it. As evidenced by that guy attacking construction cones behind me. Hey look, invisible statue. I'm not gonna touch that one, guys. I'm doing too many controversial topics in one video. But yeah, let's just say Canada is having a moment of reflection on its past, and different people have different views on that. All I'm gonna say is I believe that you can have different views on these historical figures, but you should learn who they are, and you should make your own opinions. Be a free-thinking human being. We need more of those these days. I mean, the number of beautiful buildings, I mean, just standing here, I mean, this to me is one of the more impressive places to stand in the city. Because, of course, you got the new architecture, like all those buildings I just passed by. You got the beautiful old buildings that remind you of the past of the city. If you want to know about Canadian politics, I mean, you know, you'll see some missing statues, you'll see some political signs, you'll see, you know, there's a lot of protests that come down here. I think the Quebecois inherited that from their French, from France. As much as Quebecois are a distinct culture, of course, there are some similarities with France, and the love to protest is one of the similarities that I see. I didn't expect to see this, but right across from the Fairmont Queen Elizabeth, if you're lucky as I am right now, you can see all the way down to Mount Royal, where those buildings, that's actually McGill University, I believe. But we're not going there today. Only got one more thing to show you. And I think it's the perfect way to end and the perfect way to summarize what life in Montreal is really about these days. Okay, we're almost there. At least I think we're almost there. This is a longer boulevard than I thought. Yes, here it is, finally. The entrance to Chinatown. And the reason I wanted to end the video here, not that Montreal has a particularly large Chinese population or anything like that, but just to point out that, you know, one of the biggest changes between 1968, you know, when I showed you that black and white video, and today, one of the biggest differences isn't the French and English divide, it's the amount of immigration that we have in Canada. This is no longer a country where people only speak English and French at home. If you think about the Indigenous past, which more and more Canadians are doing recently, it really never was. We just had this illusion back in the day that maybe it's only English and French cultures that mattered. But really, for generations now, we've had the indigenous populations who too often get forgotten by Canadians. We've had immigrants from Asia, from the Americas, South America, Central America, India, Africa, of course, other parts of Europe. I mean, look around Montreal. There's Irish communities, there's Portuguese communities, there's Indian communities, Greek, Arab, Muslim, Jewish. Name a group, you'll find a community in Montreal. And I think that's an important way to end this video. Just to have that awareness that sometimes Canadians, sometimes we have a closed-minded idea of what it means to be a Canadian, or a Quebecois for that matter. We think in terms of stereotypes and cliches. But the reality, the people you pass on the street, the stories you encounter, are far more diverse in Canada than most places in the world. And that's something that makes me proud to be a Canadian. I think it's one of the strongest points of Canada, that we celebrate that diversity. Is it perfect? No. Do we have issues which lead to us tearing down statues, renaming public streets and squares, and sometimes there are protests, sometimes certain people get disrespected or don't get the acknowledgement they deserve? That is true. Some Quebecois feel that their entire province has been dealt that way for a very long time. But I think Canada is a place that is trying to get this messy game known as multiculturalism right. Are we perfect? No. But we're trying to be better. And maybe this street, Rene Levesque Boulevard, symbolizes how Canada can have one foot in the future and one foot in the past. We can acknowledge and remember the cultures that began this great country and that need to be remembered and preserved, while also embracing the future and allowing new cultures to be part of this great country. There's space for both. Just like my foot can always be the same, even when the new pair of shoes changes. This great country can, that's a terrible metaphor. Okay, I tried too much. I was almost there, I almost had it. I almost ended this video, but then I lost it at the end, guys, I lost it. This video is sponsored by Converse shoes. Thank you for, no, just kidding. This video is not sponsored by anyone, but this video is dedicated to you, all the people at home who believe that diversity is a strength, who believe that people from different countries, different backgrounds, different languages, different cultures can come together and live in peace and can make a stronger community together. That's who I dedicate this video to. I think these days we're hearing so much negativity in the news. We're hearing all these stories, all these protests, all these things that are trying to divide us and make us forget that deep down we're all the same, okay? Don't forget, don't listen to all those liars on TV who want to just convince you that we're all so different and we all need to be fighting all the time. It's nonsense. I've traveled to 40 countries in the world. You know what I've learned? Deep down, people are the same. We gotta remember that. Hope you enjoyed this. As always, I'm Dan from The New Travel. I'll see you next time.